But without further ado, let's blow the trumpets. Numbers 10:10. All right, so let's get started right into it. But y'all know the deal. Let's get the prayer in and ask for the Spirit to lead this reading. Heavenly Abba, high in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Tawada, thank you, Heavenly Abba, for allowing us to be here in your presence to have this opportunity and for us to count our blessings on a daily and remember all that is given to us is from you, and to separate ourselves and to never look at others and envy them, and for us to always stay humble in the Ruach and in our paths along this walk we call truth, Heavenly Abba. We just ask for wisdom and strength to endure. Please send the Ruach Kodesh to guide this message and incline our ears to wisdom. By Hashem Yasha, Amen and Amen. All right. Let's get this started. Share screen to Genesis 27. Verse 1. Let us read.
Genesis 27. When Isaac was old, and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called his older son Esau, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," Esau replied. "Look," said Isaac, "I am now old, and I do not know the day of my death. Take your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out into the field to hunt some game for me."
And game, just to clarify, specifically is venison. We see over here in the KJV and also confirmed in other translations when you look into it. So he's technically asking for a deer or antelope specifically, but obviously that's not what happens. Let's continue.
"Then prepare a tasty dish that I love, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening to what Isaac told his son Esau. So when Esau went into the field to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Behold, I overheard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me a tasty dish to eat, so that I may bless you in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen to my voice and do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so that I can make them into a tasty dish for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I am smooth-skinned. What if my father touches me? Then I would be revealed to him as a deceiver, and I would bring upon myself a curse rather than a blessing." His mother replied, "Your curse be on me, my son. Just obey my voice and go get them for me." So Jacob went and got 2 goats and brought them to his mother, who made the tasty food his father loved. And Rebekah took the finest clothes in the house that belonged to her older son Esau, and she put them on her younger son Jacob.
All right, let's pause there. We're going to go to the Aramaic Targums with the interesting point they suggest in here. All right. Chapter 27, verse 15. And Rebekah took the pleasant vestments of Esau, her elder son, which had formerly been Adam's, but which that day Esau had not worn, but they remained with her in the house. And with them she dressed Jacob, her younger son. So if you've been along this Torah portion ride, we've mentioned these garments that was first given, obviously given to Adam at the time of his falling. And then it was passed down. Then it was taken by Ham to Cush to Nimrod. And then Esau killed Nimrod and took these vestments. And so let's go to that quick reference here in Jasher chapter 27, verse 11. This is a reference of how Esau got the garments. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. Oh, let me start at verse 10. And when Esau saw that the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled, thereby escaped, and Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod. And so just interesting point there. It comes full circle and it goes back to the righteous line of Jacob. All right. Continuing now. So the garments put on Jacob from Esau, according to the Targums, are the garments that Esau took from Nimrod, which is originally Adam, returning to a righteous line of Jacob. Verse 16.
She also put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed her son Jacob the tasty food and bread she had made. So Jacob went to his father and said, "My father." "Here I am," he answered. "Which one are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac asked his son, "Did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" "Because the Lord your God brought it to me," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Isaac did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Again he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." "Serve me," said Isaac, "and let me eat some of my son's game, so that I may bless you." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. Then he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. When Isaac smelled his clothing, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth, an abundance of grain and new wine. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be the master of your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed."
All right. I just want to take a moment here and give a perspective on this matter. Everything happens for a reason. And, the idea of Jacob stealing the birthright and the blessing, right? Why is Isaac blind? Why can't Isaac see here? This is obviously of the Most High's doing that Isaac can't see who he's blessing. Is it maybe because Isaac would be blessing the wrong person if the Most High gave him these eyes to see? This blessing clearly is of the Most High and not of Isaac himself, if you get my point. Because nothing is by mistake. And we'll wrap that. Just want to drop those seeds in your noggin right now. We're going to wrap around this full understanding by the end of this chapter. Just want to plant the seed that there's a reason why Isaac is blind, because he's blinded by his own son Esau. He wants Esau to be the man that he's supposed to be so bad that the Most High had to blind Isaac to make the right decision here. It's actually reversed, but I'll elaborate more by the end of this chapter. Let's continue now. Verse 30.
As soon as Isaac had finished blessing him, and Jacob had left his father's presence, his brother Esau returned from the hunt. He too made some tasty food, brought it to his father, and said to him, "My father, sit up and eat of your son's game, so that you may bless me." But his father Isaac replied, "Who are you?" "I am Esau, your firstborn son," he answered. Isaac began to tremble violently, and said, "Who was it then who hunted the game and brought it to me? Before you came in, I ate it all and blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he let out a loud and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me too, O my father." But Isaac replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." So Esau declared, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?"
Let's stop right there. Is he not rightly named Jacob? Let's look into that. The name of Jacob. Hill holder or supplanter? Let's look into supplanter here. A supplanter takes over or takes the place of someone else, usually on purpose. And then it talks about taking a throne or whatever. A supplanter takes the place of someone or something that was there first. So this story ranges even past, obviously, Isaac and Jacob. Esau and Jacob. The entire story, not going into my study called Equal Unto the Angels, but the entire story of the Bible, of scriptures, is us replacing the fallen angels. A plant that was already there, a being that was already established that has fallen from his firstborn state that will be replaced by the numbered righteous. This story is repeated over and over again, all throughout scripture, that there are those that will be established that's supposed to be a man of righteousness, but if they do not answer the call, they will be replaced. This is the story of the book. The Most High chooses those who chooses him. And let's elaborate on this heel holder. The fact that he grabbed upon the heel. Let's go into some Genesis in real quick. Genesis 25. Let's remember some things that were said here. The heel holder, Genesis 25:26. All right. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, because his name means heel holder, right? Genesis 25:23, right before that. Let's remember, the name matches his identity. This is how scripture in Hebrew works. So Genesis 25:23, the Most High answered Rebekah why she was having this rumbling in her stomach like no other. And the Most High said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. The one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So let me ask you this. Can you steal something from someone that was already given to you from our Heavenly Father. Rebecca knew this. Rebecca was told the prophecy that the younger will be greater than the older. Very obvious who this is talking about. From thy bowels, there will be two nations, and the older will serve the younger. So this blessing was always for Jacob. This is why the Most High blinded Isaac, because the blessing was for Jacob. And Isaac was too blind because Esau he loved dearly to make the right decision. So when we read these and it says Jacob has stolen thy blessing deceitfully, the point of the narrative here is that one way or another, the Most High's anointed will make a way. To the eyes of those that are undeserving, it will be wicked or deceiving in certain times based on the circumstances of what the Most High had to do to make a way for his people. But Rebecca, like she said, regardless of what was going to happen, she said the curse will be upon me, and it's not, and I'm not implying that being deceitful is righteous. I'm implying that the story unfolds through people's. We all have there's two parts of every story. There's decisions that we make, and then there's the Most High making a way. This is the Most High making a way based on the decisions Rebecca made for her child to get the blessing that the Most High gave him. We have our decisions, and what we do play out in reality, in the spiritual realm. And the Most High will make a way one way or another. But at the end of the day, the point of the narrative that I want to leave y'all with is that the Most High can harden a heart. The Most High can soften a heart. The Most High can make a man blind when he is not wise enough to make a righteous decision as well on this specific matter. And like I said, I'm not taking away anything from Isaac. Isaac, obviously, is a very righteous man, but it's very clear that for some reason, Isaac was blinded to Esau's foolishness, and the Most High made a way. Continuing here, I wanted to keep expounding on the heel holder. Not saying this prophecy is connected with specifically this story, but the point of the heel is Genesis 3:15 here. I will put enmity between thee and the woman. This is the judgment for the serpent in the garden right here. So the serpent and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The point here is pointing out that the heel represents a weak point of a man. This is why he grabs upon the heel of Esau. Esau's weakness is that he's not righteous, and just like Riley says, he thought his birthright was worthless. He didn't take the Most High's commandments seriously. Every man has a weakness, and that is what's being declared here throughout Scripture. Grabbing upon a man's heel is what, and that's what we're reading. When we read Jacob taking his birthright, well, shoot, not taking it, negotiating his birthright. I mean, he didn't steal it, not the birthright. It was him taking advantage of Esau's weakness and arrogance, going out there trying to kill a king. So just adding context to what we're reading here, being a heel holder, supplanter, is the righteous will take the place of a wicked man in the kingdom one way or another. That's the point of the story here. All right. That being said, let's continue reading. verse 37.
But Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him your master, and given him all his relatives as servants. I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What is left that I can do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Behold, your dwelling place shall be away from the richness of land, away
1 second. Okay.
from the dew of heaven above. You shall live by the sword and serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will tear his yoke from your neck."
I want to read verse 40. And there's the prophecy right there coming to a fulfillment, right? We just read in Genesis 25 that the elder shall serve the younger. The Most High ain't never lie. He told us to Rebekah from the beginning at the womb with them. And I mean, he did bless both. He just couldn't double dip in blessings. So he blessed Esau with what he was supposed to bless him with. And I want to read verse 40 in the Targum. And upon thy sword shalt thou depend, entering at every place. Yet thou shalt be supple and credulous, and be in subjection to thy brother. All right, here's the main point I wanted to read here. But it will be that when his sons become evil and fall from keeping the commandments of the law, thou shalt break his yoke from servitude from off thy neck. So very consistent. The Most High is very consistent. When the seed of Yaakov, Jacob, is righteous, then they dominate the earth. When they're wicked, the earth dominates them. And that is what's happening in this prophetic message and what has happened throughout his story. Verse 41. Oh, before we continue, 41 goes into Esau going into a grudge with Jacob. But at the end of the blessing, I wanted to also go and read a few of these verses here. Confirming this blessing of Esau taking and being the firstborn birthright. As it says in Exodus, the whole story of Exodus is the firstborn judgment, right? For them to be free. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus says the Most High, Israel, which is Jacob, Yasharallah, is my son, even my firstborn. So clearly the Most High, this was of his will, as he's claiming Yaakov, Yasharallah, as his firstborn over Esau. And continuing, Romans 9 through 13. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarai shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Elohim according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated, which is in Malachi, I believe. And Second Ezra mentions this verse as well. But that's the thing. Jacob was, which we'll read more and more. We've already read enough that Jacob was a righteous man seeking to do the Most High's commandments, and Esau did not care at all. And that's what this walk is about. The Most High calls on them and chooses those that choose him. And he knows the end from the beginning, which is why he could give prophecies, right? And I wanted to number of quite a few names, very prestigious names in scriptures that are not the firstborn. They are simply those that have been chosen, that have taken the seat of the firstborn, per se. Abraham is not a firstborn son. Jacob, obviously, right here, is not a firstborn son. Isaac wasn't a firstborn son. David wasn't a firstborn son. Joseph wasn't a firstborn son. Even Moses wasn't the firstborn son. Abel, Cain was the firstborn. Abel was the secondborn. Narrative being clearly made here is that the Most High elects and chooses those that he knows will choose him. And I wanted to finish with this blessing of your children with a verse from the book of Sirach, aka Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8 and 9. Honor thy father and mother, both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon thee from them. For the blessing of the father established the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooteth out foundations. So I just wanted to bring it to us. Okay, we're going on people, the firstborn being blessed and children being anointed by the Most High for those that do what is right. So a message for us right here, right today, with our parents. I know a lot of us have tough relationships with our parents because of our faith, our belief, our works. Like they literally hate some of our works, right? Some of the things we do, they can't stand it. I don't care. The Most High doesn't care. If they don't like you, they don't like your works. If y'all don't have a good relationship, y'all don't hang out. The Most High never says anything about that when he's talking about honoring your children or your parents, excuse me. Children honoring their parents. Regardless of what your relationship is with your parents, you honor them by respecting them, by speaking to them in an appropriate manner of respect, by, as it says, honor thy father and thy mother in word and in deed, by doing right by them. If I keep reading this chapter, right here, verse 12, my son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth. Help your parents if they need you. They raised you, regardless of where they're at now and your relationship is now. Just wanted to make this message. We're looking at people that's looking to be blessed, and regardless of someone blessing you or not, because you may have some wicked parents, just being straightforward with it, as doing wicked things, and you're not looking for a blessing from them. You're looking for a blessing from the Most High. Then we just witnessed, and that was the whole point of this. Jacob deserved a blessing that technically wasn't his firstborn. Give it to him as being firstborn. Jacob's blessing was always from the Most High. That's the whole point of this. When you do this, it's not that you're seeking to get something from your parents. Heck, it's not necessarily seeking to get something from the Most High. It's because the Most High told you to, and it's the right thing to do. But your blessing will always come from the Most High. Your treasures are in heaven. If you don't get anything except sass from your mom when you go over there, it doesn't matter. The Most High doesn't tell you to argue with her. Humble yourself before the Most High and find a way to at least be peaceable, with your mother and your father and your elders. All right. Little message in the middle of this study. All right. Let's continue now to chapter 27. Let's finish this chapter with verse 41 through 46.
Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When the words of her older son Esau were relayed to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and told him, "Look, your brother Esau is consoling himself by plotting to kill you. So now, my son, obey my voice and flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's rage against you wanes, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I am weary of my life because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a Hittite wife from among them, what good is my life?"
Verse 46 at the end of this chapter, it makes the book of Jasher fit in that much well. It's so random. But if the Most High wrote another book to give you understanding on what Rebecca's talking about here, that makes sense why it's very shortly worded. Because we're going to read what Rebecca is speaking about to Isaac here in verse 46, and much more in the book of Jasher. So let's go to the book of Jasher on this chapter. It will be Jasher 29. Verses 11 through 16. And yes, the chapter and verse from Sirach was chapter 3, verse 8 and 9. All right. Jasher 29, verse 11. And Jacob was very much afraid of his brother Esau, and he rose up and fled to the house of Eber, the son of Shem. So he did that immediately after he left the house. He knew Esau was going to be upset. And he concealed himself there on account of his brother. And Jacob was 63 years old when he went forth from the land of Canaan from Hebron. And Jacob was concealed in Eber's house 14 years on account of his brother Esau. The book of Jasher makes these like how old they are, you just don't get all those details, and how long they be in some places, right? And he there continued to learn the ways of the Adon and his commandments. Once again, right after the blessing, Jacob goes and seeks wise counsel and more understanding of the Most High's commandments. Verse 12. And when Esau saw that Jacob had fled and escaped from him, and that Jacob had cunningly obtained the blessing, then Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and mother. And he also rose up and took his wife and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir. And he dwelt there, and Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Heth, the Hittite. The Hittites, once again, the Hittite women. Here's the dots connecting with Jasher here. Whose name was Bosmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And he took her for a wife in addition to his first wife. And Esau called her name Adah, saying the blessing had in that time passed from him. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without seeing his father and mother. And afterwards Esau took his Hittite wives and rose up and returned to the land of Canaan. And Esau placed his 2 wives in his father's house in Hebron. And the wives of Esau vexed and provoked Isaac and Rebekah with their works, for they walked not in the ways of the Adon, but served their father's gods of wood and stone, as their father had taught them. And they were more wicked than their father. And they went according to the evil desires of their hearts, and they sacrificed and burnt incense to Balaam. And Isaac and Rebekah became weary of them. All right. Now we see Genesis 27, verse 46 in full understanding. Verse 16, and Rebekah said, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are the daughters of the land, what good then is life unto me? And now we're going to jump to verse 20 through 20. And at the end of 14 years of Jacob residing in the house of Eber, Jacob desired to see his father and mother. And Jacob came to the house of his father and mother to Hebron. And Esau had in those days forgotten what Jacob had done to him in having taken the blessing from him in those days. Yeah, it's been 14 years. It's been a good bit. And when Esau saw Jacob coming to his house, his father and mother, he remembered what Jacob had done to him, and he was greatly incensed against him and sought to slay him. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was old and advanced in days. And Esau said, now my father's time is drawing nigh that he must die. When he shall die, I will slay my brother Jacob. And this was told to Rebekah, and she hastened and sent and called for Jacob her son. And she said unto him, arise, go and flee to Haran to my brother Laban, and remain there for some time until thy brother's rage be turned from thee, and then shalt thou come back. And we will stop there in the book of Jasher to complete chapter 27 of the book of Genesis. All right, chapter 28 of Genesis, verse 1.
Genesis 28. So Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him. Do not take a wife from the Canaanite women, he commanded. Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel, and take a wife from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, so that you may become a company of peoples. And may he give the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants, so that you may possess the land where you dwell as a foreigner, the land God gave to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob to Padan Aram, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. Now Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him to Padan Aram to take a wife there, commanding him, do not marry a Canaanite woman, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother, and gone to Padan Aram. And seeing that his father Isaac disapproved of the Canaanite women, Esau went to Ishmael, and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael, in addition to the wives he already had.
All right. Let's pause there. We're going to go and read in the book of Jasher, chapter 29, verse 24 through 30 now. And Isaac called unto Jacob and said unto him, take not a wife from the daughters of Canaan, for thus did our father Abraham command us according to the word of the Adon, which he had commanded him, saying, unto thy seed will I give this land, and if thy children keep my covenant that I have made with thee, then will I also to thy children that which I have spoken unto thee, and I will not forsake them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, to all that I shall command thee, and refrain from taking a wife from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take unto thee a wife from there, from the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. Therefore, take heed lest thou shouldest forget the Adon the Elohim and all his ways in the land to which thou goest, and shouldest get connected with people of the land, and pursue vanity, and forsake the Adon the Elohim. But when thou comest to the land, serve there the Adon. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I commanded thee, in which thou didst learn. And may the Almighty Elohim grant thee favor in the sight of the people of the earth. that thou mayest take there a wife according to thy choice, one who is good and upright in the ways of the Adon. And may the Elohim give unto thee and thy seed the blessing of thy father Abraham, and make thee fruitful and multiply thee. And mayest thou become a multitude of people in the land, whither thou goest. And may Elohim cause thee to return to this land, the land of thy father's dwelling, with children and with great riches, with joy and with pleasure. And Isaac finished commanding Jacob and blessing him, and he gave him many gifts, together with silver and gold, and sent him away. And Jacob hearkened to his father and mother. He kissed them and arose and went to Padan-aram. And Jacob was 77 years old when he went out from the land of Canaan from Beersheba. And we see that Jacob left a wealthy man with gifts, silver, and gold. We'll see where all that goes very soon. Back into the book of Genesis now. We will continue with verse 10.
Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. On reaching a certain place, he spent the night there because the sun had set. And taking one of the stones from that place, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. And Jacob had a dream about a ladder that rested on the earth, with its top reaching up to heaven. And God's angels were going up and down the ladder. And there at the top the Lord was standing, and saying, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you now lie.
All right, I got a little visual here of a ladder coming from heaven, an actual real video, not like an image. Let's see. It's a video of, short. A real video of a ladder-like angle of lights going up, and maybe not all the way down to earth, but obviously this is just an idea of maybe a bigger, more vivid picture for Yaakov right here, where he's witnessing it. But just an idea, a ladder of lights. Angels are lights, stars. So I would think it would look something like that. And then right next to it, I got this Masonic Jacob's ladder. We read what's at the top of the ladder. The top of the ladder is supposed to be the Most High, right? And we see it going to the sun because they worship the sun. And it's just a perverted version of Jacob's ladder on their checkerboard floor and whatnot, just showing that they pervert everything, right? All right, so let's get back to the story. Just wanted to give a little illustration, maybe helps with the visualizing what Yaakov is witnessing here. Verse 14 now.
Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and east and north and south. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Look, I am with you, and I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. When Jacob woke up, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was unaware of it. And he was afraid, and said, how awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone that he had placed under his head, and he set it up as a pillar. He poured oil on top of it, and he called that place Bethel, though previously the city had been named Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me, and watch over me on this journey, and if he will provide me with food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I may return safely to my father's house, then the Lord will be my God. And this stone I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will surely give you a tenth.
A tenth. What's that referencing? Everybody, y'all know this. Y'all know the answer, right? Let's go to it. Verse 22, I will give a tenth. Well, we see in Genesis 14 when Abraham was with Melchizedek, Shem. Blessed be Abram of the Most High, Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High, Elohim, which has delivered thy enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. Hold on, miss a verse there. Another verse short. But we're talking about tithing. And so we see here that even Abram tithed to Melchizedek here. And that's what the 10th reference yes, in different translations, it says he gave him a tenth of everything. So this could say, and he gave him a tenth of everything, or he gave him tithes, which would be a tenth of everything. Just depends on the translation we're reading here. And then also on tithing, Leviticus 27, and all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Most High's. It is holy unto the Most High. And if a man will at all redeem aught of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof. And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even whatsoever passes under the rod, the tenth shall be holy unto the Most High. So obviously a standard of a tenth, given a tenth for tithing, was already happening before the Levites. We see it with Abraham. We're seeing Jacob saying he'll give a tenth. That has been the standard. It just hasn't been written verbatim for his people until Leviticus. But this is what we're witnessing, is that he says he will give a tenth. And this is a very big deal. We're going to see these dots connect from this verse 22, that if the Most High does this for Jacob, all that you give me, I will surely give you a tenth. I'm going to go ahead and foreshadow this connection with when he wrestles with God, right? When his name changes from Yaakov to Yasharallah, is directly connected to him saying he will tithe a tenth. But we will get to that very soon. All right. And now we're going back to the book of Jasher. Finishing Jasher chapter 29, starting at verse 31. And when Jacob went away, so this is actually, we're starting off, this is actually adding a story before he gets to where his night of Jacob's ladder. What we're about to read is before he gets there, all right? And when Jacob went away to go to Haran, Esau called his son Eliphaz and secretly spoke unto him, saying, now hasten, take thy sword in thy hand and pursue Jacob, and pass before him in the road, and lurk for him, and slay him with thy sword in one of the mountains, and take all belonging to him, and come back. And Eliphaz, the son of Esau, was an active man and an expert with the bow, as his father had taught him. He was a noted hunter in the field and a valiant man. And Eliphaz did as his father had commanded him. And Eliphaz was at that time 13 years old. Eliphaz rose up and went and took 10 of his mother's brothers with him and pursued Jacob. And he closely followed Jacob, and he lurked for him in the border of the land of Canaan, opposite to the city of Shechem. And Jacob saw Eliphaz and his men pursuing him. And Jacob stood still in the place in which he was going, in order to know what this was, for he did not know the thing. And Eliphaz drew his sword And he went on advancing, he and his men, towards Jacob. And Jacob said unto them, what is to do with you that you have come hither? And what meaneth it that you pursue with your swords? And Eliphaz came near to Jacob, and he answered and said unto him, thus did my father command me. And now therefore I will not deviate from the orders which my father gave me. And when Jacob saw that Esau had spoken to Eliphaz to employ force, Jacob then approached and supplicated Eliphaz and his men, saying to him, behold, all that I have, in which my father and mother gave unto me, take unto thee, and go from me, and do not slay me, and may this thing be accounted unto thee as righteousness. And the Adon caused Jacob to find favor in the sight of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his men. And they hearkened to the voice of Jacob, and they did not put him to death. And Eliphaz and his men took all belonging to Jacob, together with silver and gold that he had brought with him from Beersheba. They left him nothing. And Eliphaz and his men went away from him, and they returned to Esau to Beersheba, and they told him all that had occurred to them with Jacob, and they gave him all that they had taken from Jacob. And Esau was indignant at Eliphaz his son, and at his men that were with him, because they had not put Jacob to death. And they answered and said unto Esau, because Jacob supplicated us in this matter not to slay him, our pity was excited towards him, and we took all belonging to him and brought it unto thee. And Esau took all the silver and gold which Eliphaz had taken from Jacob, and he put them by his house. And we'll stop there in the book of Jasher. Will be the conclusion of Genesis 28. So many details given in the book of Jasher. Fits in and ties into the story and just makes it make that much more sense. All right, chapter 29 of Genesis. Let's read.
Genesis 29. Jacob resumed his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. He looked and saw a well in the field, and near it lay 3 flocks of sheep, because the sheep were watered from this well. And a large stone covered the mouth of the well. When all the flocks had been gathered there, the shepherds would roll away the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. My brothers, Jacob asked the shepherds, where are you from? We are from Haran, they answered. Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor? Jacob asked. We know him, they replied. Is he well? Jacob inquired. Yes, they answered, and here comes his daughter Rachel with his sheep. Look, said Jacob, it is still broad daylight. It is not yet time to gather the livestock. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture. But they replied, we cannot until all the flocks have been gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep.
So I want to just make it make sense to everyone what's going on at the beginning of this chapter, because it gives us detail, and we're like, well, what's the point of this detail? Like in verse 3 here, when all the flocks had been gathered there, the shepherds would roll away the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. It's like, what's the point of this, right? Well, why is it telling us this random fact? The point of it is right there in the story. There's this big stone that has to be moved, so it's not easy to simply just go and water your sheep. And they say in verse 6, yes, they answered, here comes his daughter Rachel with his sheep. And then Jacob tells them, look, said Jacob, it is still broad daylight. It is not yet time to gather the livestock, water the sheep, and take them back to the pasture. And then immediately after that, we're about to see that Rachel arrives. He sees Rachel coming. So what it looks like that, and they say, well, we cannot because we're waiting for the sheep to be gathered. He doesn't know that they have to wait, roll away this stone. So the whole thing is that it looks like the moment he sees Rachel come into the well with her sheep, he's telling them to scram. He's like, why are y'all gathered here? Why don't y'all water the sheep and go back to the pasture? And they're like, actually, we're supposed to be waiting. We're waiting and we're going to be staying here. And why Rachel's coming is like, it's just, I don't know. It's just a funny part of the story where it sounds like Jacob's trying to get rid of them. Clearly, he's telling them to leave and water their sheep and leave. But just like I said, that's just the connective dots and understanding of the details given at the beginning here. Let's continue now as Rachel arrives.
While he was still speaking with them, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. As soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his mother's brother Laban, with Laban's sheep, he went up and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well, and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. He told Rachel that he was Rebekah's son, a relative of her father, and she ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he ran out to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home, where Jacob told him all that had happened. Then Laban declared, "You are indeed my own flesh and blood." After Jacob had stayed with him a month, Laban said to him, "Just because you are my relative, should you work for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older was named Leah, and the younger was named Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful. Since Jacob loved Rachel, he answered, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban replied, "Better that I give her to you than to another. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, yet it seemed but a few days because of his love for her.
All right. Let's take a stop there. So verse 18 here. Verse 18. I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter, Rachel. I'm going to reiterate the dowry that I mentioned Torah portion before. Exodus 22:17. Not specifically talking about this scenario, just mentioning the dowry, that there is a dowry of virgins. And 100% Rachel is a virgin here. And also Genesis 24:53. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment and gave them to Rebekah. Remember, this is exactly what we just read was with Jacob. This is the dowry that was given for Rebekah and gifts for the family, if we can remember that, right? So this is a dowry that was an obvious custom at the time and of the land for virgins. So this is why Eleazar was able to give the gifts and leave the next morning with her. And he gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. This is exactly what was given to Jacob when he left, but the dowry is now gone, which makes it make more sense why he had to serve 7 years, because that, I guess, was the price of a standard dowry, possibly at that time, in a sense of labor. All right. Now we're going to go to the book of Jasher. Still in chapter 30. We're going to read 11 through 13 and then 19 and 20. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. And Jacob related to Laban what his brother Esau So just clarifying when he says in the book of Genesis, let's go back. When he says in the book of Genesis, oh, where's it at? Where Jacob told him all that had happened. This is what had happened with Esau on his journey. All right, continuing here. And what his son Eliphaz had done to him in the road. And Jacob resided in Laban's house for 1 month. And Jacob ate and drank in the house of Laban. And afterwards Laban said unto Jacob, tell me what shall be thy wages, for how canst thou serve me for naught? And Laban had no sons, but only daughters at this time. And his other wives and handmaids were still barren in those days. And these are the names of Laban's daughters, etc., etc. We have Rachel, Leah. But Rachel was beautiful, well-favored, and Jacob loved her. And then we're going to go to verse 19 and 20. And the Adon gave Laban riches and honor, sons and daughters, and the man increased greatly on account of Jacob. And Jacob in those days served Laban in all manner of work, in the house and in the field. And the blessing of the Adon was in all that belonged to Laban, in the house and in the field. This is also a point, which is why Laban did not want Jacob to leave. We will read later on. Laban would not allow him to leave because he saw that he was rich because of Jacob. Jacob made Laban better. All right. Make sure. Yep. Let's continue now. With verse 21.
Finally Jacob said to Laban, grant me my wife, for my time is complete, and I want to sleep with her. So Laban invited all the men of that place and prepared a feast. But when evening came, Laban took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob, and he slept with her. And Laban gave his servant girl Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her maidservant. When morning came, there was Leah. What have you done to me? Jacob said to Laban. Wasn't it for Rachel that I served you? Why have you deceived me? Laban replied, it is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older. Finish this week's celebration, and we will give you the younger one in return for another 7 years of work. And Jacob did just that. He finished the week's celebration, and Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave his servant girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maidservant. Jacob slept with Rachel as well, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah. So he worked for Laban another 7 years.
All right. You'd be like, how did that happen? How do you have a whole other woman and you don't know it? Well, let's read this same story in the book of Genesis. We're going to read, it's chapter 31, 1 through 13 we will be reading. And in the 7th year, Jacob's service, which he served Laban, was completed. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for the days of my service are fulfilled. And Laban did so. And Laban and Jacob assembled all the people of that place, and they made a feast. And I got to say, that's got to be kind of romantic, right? To love a woman so much that the price of your labor for 7 years equals your love for her. It's kind of romantic, right? Verse 2. And in the evening, Laban came to the house, and afterwards Jacob came there with the people of the feast. And Laban extinguished all the lights that were there in the house. Here we go. And Jacob said unto Laban, wherefore dost thou do this thing unto us? And Laban answered, Such is our custom to act in this land. And afterwards, Laban took his daughter Leah, and he brought her to Jacob. And he came to her, and Jacob did not know that she was Leah because they made it pitch black. And obviously, Leah was being quiet. And Laban gave his daughter Leah, his handmaid Zilpah, for a handmaid. And all the people at the feast knew what Laban had done to Jacob, but they did not tell the thing to Jacob. And all the neighbors came that night to Jacob's house, and they ate and drank and rejoiced and played before Leah upon timbrels and with dances, and they responded before Jacob, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. And Jacob heard their words, but did not understand their meaning. But he thought such might be their custom in this land. And the neighbors spoke these words before Jacob during the night, and all the lights that were in the house Laban had that night extinguished. And in the morning, when daybreak appeared, Jacob turned to his wife, and he saw, and behold, it was Leah that had been lying in his bosom. And Jacob said, behold, now I know what the neighbors said last night. Hallelujah, they said, and I knew it not. And Jacob called unto Laban and said unto him, what is this that thou didst unto me? Surely I served thee for Rachel. And why didst thou deceive me and didst give me Leah? And Laban answered Jacob, saying, not so is it done in our place to give the younger before the elder daughter, but elder. Now, therefore, if thou desirest to take her sister, likewise, take her unto thee for the service which thou wilt serve me for another 7 years. And Jacob did so. And he also took Rachel for a wife, and he served Laban 7 years more. And Jacob also came to Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. And Laban gave her his maid Bilhah for a handmaid. And that being said, just a thought, just an interesting thought that, like I said, one way or another, the Most High's prophecies, his will be done. But how we choose to do things matter. And do you think that there is a connection with Jacob being a part of deceiving his blind father, being deceived by being blinded with no lights and having to serve double the time for the wife that he went for 7 years? Do you think that's a connection there? I think it's all connected. It's like, just because my will be done doesn't mean it was done in the most righteous manner. And Jacob being blinded for the wrong woman, just thought it was kind of interesting connection there.